Daniel. To the book of Daniel, chapter 6. I'm going to start with verse 19. So we all know the story of Daniel and the lion's den. In verse 19, this is going to start early morning, the day after Daniel was thrown into the lion's den. And verse 19 says, Then the king arose very early in the morning and went in haste unto the lion's den. And when he came to the den, he cried with lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spake and said to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God, whom thou servest continually, able to deliver thee from the lions? Then said Daniel unto the king, O king, live forever. My God hath sent his angel, and hath shut the lions' mouths, that they have not hurt me, for as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt. All right, we'll stop right there. Now, as we know, the story of Daniel and the lions den, the king the king had to throw him in there because he got these people caught him up on his own words. So they threw Daniel into the lion's den. But I want you to look at the king's actions the very next morning. Okay? It said that then the king rose very early in the morning and went in haste to the lion's den. See, he had faith already that Daniel's God was going to save him. Or else why wake up early and go to the lion's den? Why go through that effort? If you know he's going to be eaten and gone, there's no reason to wake up early. There's no reason to go check on him, because you know how you treat those lions. Back then, they would starve them. Before they threw someone in there, which was an execution, they would starve the lions. They didn't give them any food, so that they would be ravenous, so that it would be over with quickly. Okay? So they'd throw them in, and before they even hit the ground, the lions would attack. Okay? That's how they did that. So the king knew this because he was the king. So why would he wake up early the next day to go check on him? Because he knew that Daniel's God was the real God and that he was powerful enough to save him from those lions. Even though everything in him said it's impossible, he knew that he better go check on him. And so when he came to the den, he cried with lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spake and said, Daniel, Daniel, servant of the living God. You see, that proves he had faith right there. Servant of the living God. Is thy God, whom thou servest continually, able to deliver thee from the lions? Then said Daniel unto the king, O king, live forever. My God hath sent his angel and hath shut the mouths of the lions, that they have not hurt me. For as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt. Now, it didn't say that he laid down and used one lion as a pillow, and he covered up with another lion, and he cuddled with them all night long, and that they were nice to him. But it said that God sent his angel to shut the mouths of the lion. So they had no authority to eat him. They wanted to, but they had no authority to, because God said no. God sent an angel and shut the mouths of the lions. So they not only did they not have the authority, they didn't have the ability to hurt Daniel. Okay? Right, and it says, and why did God do this? It's because it says, for as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt. So basically Daniel's saying, God knew I didn't do anything wrong. God knew I was innocent of this whole debacle. So he protected me. Alright, now, verse 23. Then was the king exceeding glad for him, and commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no manner of hurt was found upon him, because he believed in his God. And the king commanded, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions, them, their children, and their wives. And the lions had the mastery of them, and brake all their bones in pieces wherever they came at the bottom of the den. Now, we'll stop right there. Now, so he was exceeding glad. He was very happy that Daniel wasn't eaten by the lions. He was very happy that God was able to save him. Now, it says, and no matter of hurt was found upon him. Why? Because he believed in his God. You see, a lot of times the reason we don't have prayers answered, and the reason we don't receive the protection that God promises us throughout the scriptures is because we don't believe that God will do it. We believe that he can do it, but believing that he can and that he will is two different things. A lot of times we get into this stupid mindset of I'm not worthy of this, so God won't do it. God never said you had to be worthy of his protection. God never said you had to be worthy of anything, but he promised it anyway. And if we believe that he will do it, he will do it. See here, Daniel, the reason he wasn't just saved, but they didn't touch him at all. He wasn't hurt at all. But why? Because he believed in his God. He knew that God would deliver him. He didn't just believe that he could, but he believed that he would deliver him. And because of that, God always will back up our faith. If we have faith in him that he will do it, then he will do it. Why? Because when we have faith in him, that's our part of the deal. And if we hold up our end, God will definitely hold up his end. Right. Verse 24 says, and the king commanded, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel and their whole family. Okay, I won't go through the whole thing. Okay, now I told you before that the angel was sent, shut their mouth. They didn't have the authority to hurt Daniel. They didn't have the ability to hurt Daniel. But what does it say here? And the lions had the mastery of them, the ones who accused Daniel. So the authority was given back to the lions, and the angel let go of their mouths. They gave them the power, the ability to attack again, and they had the mastery of them and break all their bones in pieces wherever they came to the bottom. Now, what does that mean? It means that they devoured them before they hit the bottom of the den. They were so ravenous, they didn't wait on them to hit the ground. They jumped up and ate them in the air. That's how ravenous these lions were. And Daniel spent a night with this. Okay? Verse 25, then King Darius wrote unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel. For he is the living God and steadfast forever. In his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall even be unto the end. All right. Now this is why we're supposed to have faith in God. Okay? Yes, it did save Daniel's life, but what did the scripture say about dying? It says, living is Christ, but to die is gain. So it doesn't gain us to live through this. We just, it would have been okay for Daniel to be devoured because he would be with his Lord and his Savior, his God, in the end of it. But he had faith that he would be delivered. Why? Because it made an impression on King Darius and all the people that were there witnessing what had gone on. They saw the impossibility of what it would be for him to be saved in this situation. It was an impossible situation for Daniel, but God made a way. God went against everything that anybody knew in this situation, and he defied all logic and saved Daniel. Why? Because he knew that it would make an impression and that the king himself would make a decree to let everybody know that this is the real living God and that he's steadfast and that his kingdom would last forever. He basically submitted himself and his kingdom. It says that he wrote the decree to every dominion of my kingdom. It says every nation, all people, and languages. To everybody in his whole kingdom. So he submitted his whole kingdom to the God of Daniel because he saw a work that defied all logic and everything that he's ever been taught about how things work. He saw the good in the God of Daniel, and he made a decree and submitted his whole kingdom to the God of Daniel. Imagine if we had that kind of faith, if we practiced that kind of faith today. We live in a world that is just satanic. It really is. It's evil. People believe in things that are just crazy. But they don't want to believe in God. They don't want to believe in Jesus Christ. But if we had faith like Daniel and we practiced that faith, not only believing that they can do things, but God will do things for us. And then allowing ourselves to be directed by God. You see, Daniel didn't fight this situation. He allowed himself to be put in the den with the lions. He didn't fight. Just like Jesus when he was arrested and taken to the cross. He didn't fight. In fact, he healed one of the guys, put an ear right back on it because, one of the disciples cut his ear off, trying to protect Jesus. Put your weapons away. He healed him and he went with them. He submitted to them because he knew it was needed. See, Daniel here, he didn't fight. He went to the lion's den. It's not a godly thing to escape your captors and live as an outlaw. It's a godly thing to allow God to have his way in your life and become a martyr if need be. You see, because he was willing to allow God to have full control and to practice his own faith that he would save him from the lion's den, God was able to take Daniel and use him as an example, place him in the lion's den with those ravenous lions that everyone knows that, every other time we've dropped people in there, they were so ravenous that they ate them up in just a few minutes. But Daniel spent a night with them. And early in the morning when King Darius woke up, he went and checked on him. Was your God able to save you from these lions? He said, "O king, live forever." Yes. He sent an angel and shut the mouths of the lions. But there was no hurt upon him. There's not a scratch, not a bruise, nothing on Daniel early in the morning, even though he spent the night with those ravenous lions. Because of that, a whole nation because of the actions of one man. Before it looked bad because he was defying the law that was put forth before that. See, he was trapped. He was put in this situation. He was trapped in this situation. They were looking to take him out. Okay? But you see, it looked bad because he defied the law and was arrested for it. But he defied that law because of his love for his God. So he knew that he was doing no wrong. Even though the law said that he was doing wrong, God said he was doing right. And we always go with God, okay? And he allowed God to protect it. He allowed God to use it. And because of the actions of one man, okay? He didn't have a team of people with him working in the background trying to fix things up for him so that it worked best. He didn't have a marketing team. He didn't have any of these people trying to figure things out for him and make sure that it goes just right. He gave it to God, and he allowed God to do what God was going to do. And because of the actions of one man, a complete, whole kingdom, everybody. It says all nations, all languages. So it was not just to the people who understood one language, but it was broken down into all the languages of everybody in the whole kingdom. And it was a decree made by the king, Darius, that this God, the God of Daniel, that you would bow down and fear and tremble at the God of Daniel. He submitted the whole kingdom over to God because of the actions of one man. Just imagine if all the Christians on the face of the earth were able to give over all their will, all their authority, everything over to God, and just say, have your way, God. Have your way. And then, not only to have the faith knowing that he can do things, but knowing that he will do things because we submit ourselves to God. You see, Daniel's life wasn't that significant. Okay, he was just one man. But that little sacrifice, that little bit of sacrifice that he submitted himself, his own life, and his own faith to God, wholly, fully, he brought on the submission of a whole kingdom. A whole kingdom. Imagine what, just if one man could do that, imagine what all the people in this room could do. Yeah, there's not too many of us in here, but there's more than one. We could turn over this whole country if we were able to do something like that. And if all the Christians in the whole country would do the same thing, so imagine the impact that God would be able to have on this world. You see, a lot of times the reason, like I said earlier, the reason that God's not moving in our lives the way that we think that he should, or the way that he moves in the lives of these characters in the Bible, is because of one simple thing. We don't believe he will. We believe he can. That's not the hard part. Believing God can do something is not the hard part, because we have Scripture saying that he spoke everything in existence into existence, and we can see the evidence of it. Science will tell you that if you break everything down, I'm talking about everything, down to its most basic foundational principles, that it is audio, it's sound. What does that mean? It means that it started with sound. What is it when God speaks things into existence? It starts with sound. So sound is everything's foundational principle. It's the foundation to the construct of everything. Everything! That's evidence that God spoke existence into being. So we know that he can do it. But we've compared God to other humans so much that it's hard for us to believe that he will do it.
Right.
Because we get in these relationships and people tell us, oh, I'll do this for you. And we believe that they can do it for us. But when it comes to other humans, it's a I'll believe it when I see it kind of situation, because you never know with humans. But if we will believe that God will move for us, and that He will protect us, and that He will answer our prayers, then He will do it. But we've got to get past that situation where we don't believe that He will. And I'm not saying that you think to yourself that He won't do it. But there's a little wishy-washiness in there. I know because I do it. I know we can do it. But then after I pray, I have this bad habit of saying, oh, I hope He does it. And that's putting doubt in there. And what does it say about doubt? A little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. That means that if you have just a little bit of doubt, it'll negate all the faith in the world. We got to work on getting that doubt out of there. We got to work on being more like Daniel here, knowing that He will do what He says He's going to do. You see? I can imagine that Daniel was scared, as we all would be. I mean, I saw a video the other day. It was a safari. These guys were in a truck with top off of the truck, taking pictures of all these animals on the savannah or whatever. And there's this one guy sitting on a chair on the hood of the truck. And they're looking off this way. And from this side, a female lion walks up and just looks up at the guy sitting on the hood of the truck. And the guy's off looking this way. And he just turns around and there's a lion right there. Whoa, you know. Sometimes life sneaks up on us like that. And if we have God on our side and we believe that God will protect us, that lion can't do anything. Just like the lions in the den where Daniel was. And can you imagine the fear of the guy in the video? You could see it on him. As soon as he saw it, fear overcame him. Daniel was being thrown into a den. Basically a small hole in the ground where they kept all these lions. And I guarantee they put more lions in there than there was space. They were probably climbing all over each other, trying to get to whatever food that was thrown in there. That's scary. It's scary. It'll shake your faith when you're scared like that. But Daniel stood steadfast because he knew, even though he was scared, that his God was bigger and badder than every lion in there. That He created those lions, and He commands each and every action that those lions do. You know, He gave them the instincts that make them eat the meat that they love so much, that keeps them alive, that gives them the nutrients and whatnot that keeps them moving. And not only that, but He can stop them from craving those things. It says that He sent an angel, shut the mouths of the lion, took their authority, their ability to hurt Daniel away. You see, when we pray about things, if we believe that God will do things for us, then it takes that thing's authority and its ability to harm us away. When we see a tornado, they say there's a tornado headed right towards you. We can say, you know, you won't come close to me because my family, me and my family, are protected by God. And if we believe that God will do it, then God takes the ability of that storm out. And it can't hurt you. It can't harm your things. It can't harm your family because God will stand in the gap for us and make sure that we're protected, just like Daniel. But it's all about knowing that He will do it. It's not knowing that He can, because that's the easy part, like I said. We can know that God can save us all day long, but if we don't believe that He will, then we're in trouble. See, if Daniel didn't believe that God would save him in this situation, he'd have been gobbled up. He'd have been lying to him. But he knew his God. How do we know our God? By spending time in prayer and meditation, getting to know God. When we get close enough with God, then we'll get into that place where our mindset changes and we know that when God says, I'll do it, we will do it. And that's a powerful place to be. A powerful place to be. An insignificant man. You see, as far as predators, we are top. We're on the top of the list. But it's because of our brains. It's not because we got big claws and big crazy teeth, able to fight off any kind of creature out there. We're going to soften that area. When a lion swipes at us, cuts us open pretty deep, and we bleed pretty bad. We go down pretty easy. This life, this body is kind of soft, kind of delicate. But God's not. See, Daniel was just a man. It's just a man, just like all of us. The only difference is that he knew his God. And he believed that his God would save him from this situation. And because of that, God honored that and saved him. And not only that, but he was such a man of God that even King Darius knew to wake up early in the morning and go check on him. Because there's a good possibility he's still alive in there. That's how good his relationship with God is that everybody around him knew. Well, he threw him in the lion's den. He could be dead, but we're talking about Daniel. We're talking about Daniel. So you better go check. So Darius jumped up early in the morning and said, was your God able to save you? Why would you ask that question if you didn't believe that it's a possibility? You wouldn't. But he did. Because he saw the work of God in Daniel's life. And he knew there's a possibility that God was going to move. You see, Daniel's faith was so strong it rubbed off on people around him. King Darius, if you'll notice the wording, he says, was your God able to save you? That means that he wasn't a believer at the time, but he had enough faith in Daniel and his God's relationship to know. And when he did save Daniel, it changed. It gave him a new look on God. You see, if we can just give God all the authority, to surrender ourselves completely, and know that he's got everything under control, we can be like Daniel, and we can influence them. Our faith will rub off on people. And they'll say, oh, Gary down there, he's got a relationship with God where you better watch out. Don't mess with Gary, because God's coming for you if you do. Don't try to go beat up Gary, because his God's looking out. The devil will be like, yeah, you better leave that guy alone. See, he's got a good relationship with God. We got to steer clear of him. We'll go mess with these other people that's faith's weak. But you better leave this one alone. See? And that's when we become powerful. Out in the world they teach you that the more power you can take in, the more you stand up and fight, the more you do this, the more powerful you become. But it's the exact opposite with God. The more we submit to him, the more powerful we become. The more we submit to God, the more the protection he puts on our lives, and the better things work out for us. You see, if we can just learn to submit the way Daniel does, and we can just pray and know it's going to come to pass. We can just say, God, take care of it, and know that God's going to take care of it. There's not a doubt in our mind in that situation. You see, there was not a doubt in Daniel's mind, and he couldn't afford to allow any doubt in there, because he was going to die and get eaten by lions. Nobody wants to die that way. But see, Daniel knew that it's out of my hands. There's nothing I can do. So what else is there to do? Give it to God. Allow God to do what He's going to do. If I become a martyr, all praise goes to you, God. If I don't become a martyr, then my testimony is that you protected me. And all praise and glory go to you. You see, that's the mindset we've got to get into, especially in these last few days. You know, before the second coming happens, we're in the end times now. We need to get in this mindset now, because as the days go on, the more and more we're going to need it. This is like my dad used to say, this is the best time that you'll ever experience, because it's just going to get worse from here on in. We've got to prepare ourselves. We've got to get in a situation where we can submit ourselves to God fully, like Daniel did. I hope I said something that bless you this morning. Is there any comments or questions?